happening? How are you? Mr. Nigel D Birch. Woo!
Well, I think that depends on, and let's use the seed analogy. I think that depends on the environment which in the seed is growing. And I think that's the problem, is that when you talk to a lot of youth, what you find is, or people in general, is learned helplessness. So the seed's not getting enough sunlight, and it's for various factors. There's all these things. Because I think that, again, in contrast, I grew up in a safe, secure environment where I was able to thrive with that idea that what do you want to be, and then embark on that journey to be, without saying I can't be this because all these things are stopping me. And I think if it was that simple, then, because a lot of kids do get asked what their dreams are, but in their mind they're like, they have negative thoughts, negative doubts because of the conditions that they live in. And it could be environmental, it could be mental conditioning. This is the biggest crutch with men, is that mental blockage that they can't get over, no matter who's trying to motivate them. I've talked to my homies and I've motivated them, and they're still in the darkest of dark corners, even though I said, what is your purpose? I said, what do you think your assignment is? I don't know. And they say that because they're sick and tired of being optimistic, knowing that every time they've tried, there's been a door shut. So it's not that they don't start off as the dreamer. It's what happens when they've dreamed, and after a certain amount of rejection, then the dream starts to dissipate, and you start to learn helplessness and hopelessness because you don't feel it's going to happen. And it happens to a lot of, so I think that's a great question. And then the other one is, what happens to the dreamer that keeps on getting his door shut after 5-10 years, and he's just like starting to give up? And I think, again, it's in that line of thinking where men have to realign their focus from, like you said, I think there's two things that are happening. One, regardless, money doesn't make me the man, right? I know that. And I also know that a lot of the things that make me who I am is my character.
Absolutely.
Right? That's fundamental truth for me. Mm-hmm. But a lot of men have been programmed to believe that power and status defines their manhood. And that is going against a white culture that perpetuates that. Right? So I can look and say, we're competing against two forces. One, the fact that the white household, the husband is primarily the breadwinner. He has the power, the privilege. He has the right. I want that because that's what society says that I need to have. So now I'm asked to go away from that, even though that's what I've been taught. That's what I see through everything that I look at in life, and say that you don't have to have that. Just be a man of character, and just be a man that works a regular job. And it's okay for your wife to be the breadwinner. A lot of men can't digest that. Most men can't, because for what we're saying, it's not about the money. It's not about the power. It's about your assignment and being rich or poor in spirit, because that is what's going to give you true life. But if most black men haven't gone or not spiritual, then therein lies a big problem, because no matter what dream you kick to them, they're going to be like, is that dream going to make me money? So I think one of the biggest things is spirituality plays such a pivotal point in role in how we look at ourselves from a character and from a place of not looking at power and privilege over our women, that I feel like if a man doesn't have that component that's central, it doesn't have to be church, but that component that grounds him, that shows that life is bigger than these material things that can dictate how I control a woman versus loving a woman, we're always going to be in that problem. And again, so I have friends, some friends that are not spiritual, so I can put, there's a men's group my friend does, Troy Crossfield, but it's a spiritual group. So I feel comfortable in the space. A lot of men don't feel comfortable in that space because they may not be spiritual. But he welcomes all people. But it shows you that there is a group of men that, when they are connected to spirituality of some sort, have no problem with the narrative we're preaching. But most of the men are not connected that way and have lost hope in any other option being something that's going to make them happy, because in their mind, they're seeing that the black woman is ahead of us. They're winning the race. There's no baton. I'm in another lane. And until there's a shift in a mindset for the men, I think it's going to be a struggle for them. But like we said, like, I don't want to go too far off because the question was originally was, where do we start? And I think we do start with conversation and supporting each other from a place where we let each other talk, which is very difficult, without rebuttaling or showing resistance to what the other sex is saying is their problem. I think there should be a time where we sit down in a room and women talk. Men can't say anything. They just have to listen and write it down. And then men talk and women have to write it down. They can have their most outlandish responses for why they think it's wrong, but just write it down, because there's too much rebuttal against what you think he's going through that's ridiculous, and vice versa. And me and you had a conversation, and the one skill that we did, we were just like, you know what, I'm just going to listen. And I was able to learn from you in one day what men probably and women will take years to learn, because they haven't opened their mind to just say, I just want to know where you're coming from, and give me an idea of where you're coming from, and we'll try to learn and be better. It can be that simple, but I feel it's very difficult at this time for that. But conversations and books and things like we're doing right now to start the conversation of seeing men and women talk in a space where it's love and it's not abrasive. I think we need to see more of that, more of this.
Permission to speak, sir?
Absolutely, go ahead.
I'm big on words like yourself, and a big part of what I do is understanding that that's where the responsibility comes now to teach those around us. Even an older person, I spoke at an event last year, and I spoke on what it means when we talk. Okay, culturally we like to say I am BROKE. The words that I don't use ordinarily in my vocabulary, I will spell. And I explained that when you go into the store and you say, I am broke, yes, we know that physically you may not have the money right now. But if you're believing that you can have something you want, is that not what you want to speak? My girlfriend says it's not in the budget. Mom, can I have this? So instead of conditioning us to always be BROKE, it's not in the budget. Oh, what's a budget, Mom? That's where I plan how I'm spending my money.
Your gift as well. I think the power of words manifestation is huge. It's huge. It's huge because it allows you to. It's like a spell. But as well as giving words, there's also repelling them as well. Because I think that when I look at, so for instance, what the biggest thing about the Black woman video was not the actual video. It was the fact that the day of, we were in service of women. So you could see that resonated throughout the video. It was actually a day where we were celebrating women. We gave them food. It was a photo shoot. We were doing things for women. So not only saying, but the actions behind the words was the most compelling and powerful thing about that day. And I think when we look back, it's not also saying, it's also doing. And also looking at the complexity of what you live in and navigating through that. Because one thing, there's a difference between motivation and empowerment. Because motivation is using words to make someone feel some type of way. Empowering somebody is giving them the tools. So what's happening is Black men lack the resources to make the shift. Not only the words, because words will empower you for the moment, but what are the tools to deal with? Words won't make you necessarily get over trauma.
No.
They can start you to motivate you to get up to deal with the trauma. But the point is that we as a Black culture have always been spellbound by motivation and inspiration, especially in the church. If I'm from the Baptist church, that's what but we're not always given the tools. So what happens is you hear a lot about men need to do this, men need to do that, but the problem is that we're frustrated because the tools aren't given. The spaces aren't given. The safety is not given. So I think I'm always, and when I say, we'll do our part, and and I love dealing with men, and I sit down with them, but it does break my heart to know that in those spaces that I've been in, you see the hopelessness in their eyes. You see, because they don't feel like there's enough spaces. So now it's a call to action to create those spaces for men specifically to create. And part of the healing process is, like you said, developing levels of affirmation for women. So part of that teaching, of course, is to say, brother, just write something for a woman today and just put it out there. And then as well, try to come to this space where we can talk about giving each other's tools to move forward. So I totally agree with you. You don't want to, I like the broken analogy because nothing is broken in you. So you shouldn't use that because you're actually stating to the world, you're putting it out there that you are broke. And allocating or not having enough funds at the moment is it's not about you, it's about the behavior at the time. So I think that should be the focus. But yeah, I mean, I know me and you are going to continue to connect after this. And the reason why I bring that up is because, again, as somebody that has been somebody that was raised in the church as well, I think that even when we hear about what men and women should do or man and woman's position, we also have to keep in mind, are we giving them enough tools? Because the bottom line is, I always come back to the base question. Why is there no change? If you know what I'm saying? Like if it's as simple as, we put it, men need to just grow up and they need to be tough and have a strong spine and do this, and why is it not happening? Because I'm also results driven. Mm-hmm. I know what happened in my life, but I have a lot of protective factors in my life. I have a lot of men in my life, a lot of women, and that's rare because in my whole family, I don't have one negative view on my aunts or uncles. So I've never been molested by my aunt or my uncle. You see what I'm saying? I've been raised by all of them. So what kind of excuse should I have? I shouldn't have one. And I don't think you should make excuses if you have less than that. But then I also have to look at, okay, well, what if I didn't have A, B, and C, and they didn't give me the tools? How would I maintain? And you can attest to that because, anybody that comes from foreign, the amount of obstacles they must face and climb is insurmountable. I couldn't even reflect to that. So sometimes I wonder if, and this is why you have different people, you as a coach would be more advantageous to speak to someone that's been through that versus not to say that I couldn't speak to that, because I can speak to anything, but the empathy and compassion to experience, because it's like, this woman has been through the same thing I've been through. Her method of how she will coach is going to be very different than what my vehicle is. But in my assignment, my words will still motivate you. But then you have P that's going to come here and she's going to say, let me give you the tools because I can show you where I've been from. Whereas I may not have the tools for that because I've never taken those steps from the bottom of the bottom to get to the top. So I think it's going to take a bunch of us. And part of my role is, like you said, is to never stop trying to shift the mindset through my words. And then we're going to have different people, myself empowering at a different level, you empowering at a different level, and getting more people to be collectively part of this thing because it's a big project. But our job is to pay our respects and do our role and never stop doing that because we have a purpose to do that. And I won't stop until that happens, Absolutely. So I agree with you.
Thank you so much, Nigel. I mean, when our 10 or 15 minute talk can go on because we're both passionate about the deal left. One, I need you to give us a rundown. I know you have some great stuff that's going to be happening for Mother's Day. You spoke about the event that, you do, the promoting. Give us information where we can contact you, how we can get involved. And I'm not sure if you travel and promote in the U.S. as well. I mean, S.H.I.F.T is international, so it goes wherever you go where you're willing to go. So we'll do that. And then on the last note, and I think that might be the challenge why we regress, where we take a step forward and then we stop and we don't see the result. It's time, T-I-M-E. We forget, I'm 50. I've had 50 years of whatever.
Right.
I'm making my decision now to change. And somehow I think, well, by December, I must be good. Or by next year. Technically, we should be thinking, if this is a balanced beam, a seesaw, if it took me 50 years to get to the other end, I need to walk maybe at least 50, 25 years before I'm going to start feeling that tip. Realistically, we know it happens before that, but we don't consciously give ourselves that much space to say, I need to grow maybe as long as it took me to go the opposite end.
Right, exactly,
So
exactly.
Give us your events and your rundown, and then you're going to close us out on and how time factors in with where we are and how we're going to use that to do the shift.
Well, you can meet me. You can reach me in a couple different ways. You can reach me at manifestblack.com as well. Definitely check out the page. It's me and my partner, Natasha Helwig. She deals with transformation with women as well. It's MNFST, Black at Gmail. So omit all the vowels, just MNFST. So we don't spell the full manifest. We just do it as acronym, and black.com. And you can find events there. The most, our upcoming event will be Nightcap. That is this weekend. So I would love for people to come out there. It's going to be an engagement between men and women, communication of sorts over various topics that we deal with within relationships. So what we generally do at Nightcap is we'll take a current show that's Black-based on television, and we will focus on some key conversations that relate to the things that we're dealing with in popular culture, and we'll talk about it. And it's been a very successful event over the last 2 years, so definitely come out there. We also have HSTW will be back in August, which is a stage play, and that will be downtown. I don't want to give exact dates yet because we're not sure if we're going to do 1 or 2 days, but it will be in August. And that's another one. That's another play that has focus on communication, understanding, moving on after relationships and sexuality, which are Afrocentric focus. So everything we do is focused on the complexities and the complex needs of our people. And I'll be performing May 9th at SX, which will be at Love Soul Child, and that will be 7 o'clock p.m. And of course, we have the Mother's Day brunch, which is an invitation only. So I'm going to tell P to give some tickets or some things. It's not even really a ticket thing. It will be just a private invite to a couple of mothers. So we'll be doing a giveaway, and I'll be communicating with you to let you know how much people I need. And then we have Father's Day as well. And there will be 2 accompanying videos that are going to be the follow-up to Black Woman, which will be Mother's Day Eulogy and Father's Day Eulogy, which are 2 powerful videos as well. Because the men are like, okay, you're giving all the women love. Can we get some love too? So I said, okay, I got one for you, brother. Don't worry, it's coming soon.
I know you.
And of course.
Give me dates and time for Nightcap, please.
Nightcap is the 6th, which is Saturday at 7 o'clock. And I'll tell you right now, I just want to give you the address. It's, let me just see it.
And is there a website to get to it?
Pardon me?
Is there a website or is it on Eventbrite?
Yeah. You go to manifestblack.com and you see a blue bar on the top, and you can go into our event area and you'll see Nightcap there, and it'll give you a brief synopsis of what it is, and you can buy tickets from there. You can also buy tickets from the links on my ID profile, Nigel D Birch, so on my page there. So you have a couple vehicles to go check it out from. And, we have wine, we have conversation, we have music, and some bites to eat. And it's always great conversation, great way to network and meet new people in the community. And I'm guaranteeing you will have a good time. Guaranteed.
All right, cool.
Yes.
Cool. All right.
And you will keep me posted on the dates of our book. Yeah. We got to talk.
So Nigel and I, we're going to be doing a book that is.
Yeah, a lot of stuff coming. Be coming. I'm not even waiting. Let's go. I'm ready.
Now, give us your take on time and how that needs to be factored in with our shift, because everything has a time. Time represents the analogical clock, the physiological clock. It just affects everything. And I'm not sure how much, Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that there is psychological time, and then there's real time, and psychological time is the time that actually can be the one that causes the most stress. I think that you should, if you're confident in creating a SMART goal, then it's time specific, and then after you create that, there's faith on top of that time. So you put into action. You have faith that God he'll maturate it or make it grow in the time it needs to be. But once you start adding psychological time on that, then you actually become stressful, and then you actually are showing that you don't have faith in your goal, because what you're saying is that why is it not happening this quickly, and you become the anxiety begins to build based on when you want something to be done. But the most you can do is you can execute a plan, a goal, put a timeline on it, and if it doesn't reach that, then you reset your goal. But even that shows progress in ground you've made of trying to get somewhere, because ideally we know a lot of times a lot of things are on God's timing. So even if you don't get to the marker by the time, when you look forward, or when you're standing at the end of that 3 to 6 months, are you further along than you were 6 months before? And I think that's what we have to. Is there progress? We got to pat ourselves on the back on that. For that one is, are we making forward progress? And I think when we don't move, when we don't set goals, when we talk about I don't have enough time, what you're doing is you're actually not moving and you're becoming stagnant. So there has to be some level of progress in your motion. So we don't waste time, or we don't dwell on time, because that can be just is detrimental to your success. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's my take on time. And I know that you have to be swift, you have to be diligent, you have to work hard, and don't give yourself a moment to say that I have too much time, or I can do it tomorrow, because today is the time to do what you need to do to be successful.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Nigel. I appreciate you stopping by with us here on Shift. And just to close, I know Mr. Nigel Birch by one shot. He can, like I said, he takes words and he just caresses all areas of you. But I want the men that are listening, and even the women that are watching, I want you to send this to a man, because many of you may not know, which is the beauty of Shift, where you share thoughts and stories and ideas that you go, oh, I thought I was alone. But I struggle with hating men. I struggled with hating men because of my background. But each time I got to the place, I had another boy. I have 4 boys. And it was always, you can't hate men. You got 4 boys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that was always my thing. Man, I can't. And I have 4 boys. So men, I'm talking to you right now, Black men. I'm letting you guys know that you guys have something special. I did the piece earlier this year or maybe last year on why the system is trying to eradicate us. Because when they look and they see that's a force that has something that if we leave it uncontrolled, there is no telling what it's going to accomplish. And you know what? Let me try and kill it before I see what it's possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
And each of us have a responsibility as mothers, as fathers, as black men, as to say, let's protect that. I think that's each of our mission culturally to protect who we are. Me protecting the man as well as the woman. Because in defense, like I said to you, Nigel, when I spoke with you, if I hear the conversation and I hear women that are beating up on men, it should be my responsibility to say, they're not that bad. Because we can't beat upon them, which now we've created this thing in our head, and then somehow we expect them to turn around. But you just said, this is who I am. So how you expect me to act this way when you're speaking your words to create me? And that's what we need to recognize. And maybe even that's what I mean when I'm talking about the words, Nigel. As women, we need to say who we want our men to be. We need to say who we want our boys to be. Job. Hey, I see you as a dad. Man, I see you're out hustling. Look, I appreciate that about you. And that may be a big part of what is missing. That
Yeah. I think you said it. I think you said it best. I think the word that should carry us throughout the year, and I've been saying it too, is being intentional. I want to be more intentional with telling brothers, and I'll say this live, that I love you, brothers. I want us to be more intentional in holding each other accountable. I want to be intentional with ministering to each other, developing fellowship with my brothers. And I'm saying this because I do this for the sisters already, but I feel like we need to be intentional, just like expressing our love for women, also being intentional not to tell our brothers that I love you, and feeling that doesn't shift, a degree of my sexuality or my manhood, and own it. Because the more we do that, the more we change the narrative on how we perceive manhood, how we perceive loving our sisters. So like you said earlier, being intentional in our words, not only for what you want, but what you expect from your relationship with women and men. Yeah. And that's the whole, at the end of the day, the reason for the project is for us to be intentional and stop being in, like you said it to me the other day, doing things in the closet. Why are we not doing it out loud? Prove it. Prove that you love black women. Say it out loud.
Yes.
You love black men and you support your black. I love him.
Yeah.
Live on Facebook, on IG. Don't hide, because that doesn't do anything. So I agree. Be intentional in telling somebody that you care about them. Be intentional in making a phone call. Intentionality is going to be my word this year. Absolutely. Be intentional. I agree.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Nigel, for stopping in, for giving us one of the most valuable things you possess, which is time. And as we, close this episode of Shift, we invite you definitely to come again. We invite you to go to Manifest, as that MANFEFFST. Am I saying that correctly?
MNFSST black.com.
Oh, it's no vowels at all.
No vowels. No
vowels.
Just in the manifest part. So MNFST black.com. Buy your ticket, come through. I'm telling you, you don't want to miss the 9th. It's going to be a fabulous night.
Shift Nation, I love you. I love what I see for our future. I love where we're heading, and we're not able to go it alone. Like I said with Mr. Birch in my conversation with him, it's about a relay. We're running a relay, and I'm not sure if
we're ready to let this be known. But I see a partnership with me and Mr. Birch, with us maybe putting forth a book. You know, he will be able to share through his eyes as a man, and I'll be able to share through my eyes as a woman, and we put it together to make something that hopefully makes a little bit more sense as we get both sides together in one. Continue to watch this episode, these series. Remember to subscribe, like, comment, share the information, but most of all, like the second hand on the clock,